So, firstly, congratulations on the book. I've been hearing really good stuff about it. In fact, Kalyan and I were just talking about it last night, and he was telling me how it's come out so beautifully. So, looking forward to checking it out.
Thank you. I know it's taken me so long, but I'm so happy that it's been a journey itself in the book to
Yeah.
kind of like put the book together, because I worked on two different scripts and then totally canceled that out, and then I was like, I want to do something which is a lot more personalized. So I think that's why Kalyan even posted and he said that I don't read recipe books, but I've managed to finish your entire book. So that was, one of the biggest compliments. So
I think the stories always connect, and I'm sure with Kena's there, and he can relate to a lot of things as well.
yes,
So
yes.
I'm sure. Perfect. So, I mean, it's ironic how these are interviews which always kind of get scheduled around this time, and though I find it pretty, it's funny how we still refer to women chefs as women chef, and we don't talk about that like that with male chefs. But at the same time, it's really amazing how there's a young breed of women chef, and I'm sorry I have to keep saying that again and again, but it's amazing, especially in the capital.
You can just say chefs,
Yes.
and then you can just refer to our gender, even though it's not required, but you can still do that.
So, especially in the capital, with the chefs taking over, like I know so many, of especially of our generation. Like the other ones I know properly, are like Ritu Dalmia and Manisha Bhasina's two big names, in the industry. And now, of course, there's Megha, Vanshika. So, how have you seen it change? For since the time you started as an intern to what it is now, you have a new restaurant coming up as well. So, how's the journey been?
So honestly, if you ask me, when I went to culinary school, when I went to IHM, I actually had decided very, very early on that I wanted to be, a chef and wanted to get into culinary school for sure.
Right.
Le Cordon Bleu was my first option. I wanted to go there directly after school, but then I decided that I'd rather, also do a graduation and then maybe look at LCB later.
Okay.
So when I finished my 10th class, I actually made my parents take me for a trip to Aurangabad, because I was just, I wanted to make sure that they come with me to the institute and they see the institute, and I'm happy to, kind of join that. So we took a trip after my 10th board, went to IHM Aurangabad, met the, dean, saw the students, saw the facility and everything. I was really happy with it. And I didn't see too many women. I met the principal at that time, Professor Jairam, and he told me, he had a one-on-one with me, and I was just like 16 years old then, and he was like, I hope you know what, the decision that you're making, because you are going to be working when the whole world is partying. That kind of like, stuck around with me. And I was like, that is a sacrifice that everyone in hospitality
Yeah.
does, and if that's what you love doing, you will do that.
Hmm.
So I decided to go to IHM Aurangabad. I took the culinary option. Now that was the only institute with two options, so you could do otherwise everyone has to do hotel management and then
Right.
choose culinary.
Right.
So I chose culinary, and which was a 3-year program with a 1-year work experience. So the 3 years that we were there, we had a class which was a class of 50 people, out of which 40 people were men and 10 were women. So that was the ratio.
Hmm.
I finished that. I got into Taj. I worked with the Taj. Again, there were quite a few, I would say, interns around my age. And, just the starting level, I would say, entry level chefs, but there weren't any senior female chefs that I could talk to. And or any women. If I could talk to any women, they were usually in the other departments, but not in the kitchen. We wouldn't see too many women in the kitchen. Then when I went to London, I went to LCB in London, and I was amazed at it was totally the opposite. There were more women than men in the kitchen, and this is 2011.
Hmm.
2011, 2012, around that time, and exactly 10 years ago actually. And I was really happy because in my class itself, out of 15, because we only had a batch of 15, we had 8 women and 7 men. So
Okay.
I automatically saw the difference there. I saw the change happening there itself.
Hmm.
Then when I came back to India, I started working with Soda Bottle Opnawala, started with Olive, when met Chef Sabby, met a few people. The only other person that I knew at that point of time, again, this is 9 years ago or 10 years ago, was Megha, and I met her because she was also working at Olive. So I
Right.
know Megha since then because we both started off, at Olive itself, and then she moved on with Chef Sabby, started working with him. So when I was in the kitchen and when I was creating my team, I was actually first given a team, and the team was only men. I was the only woman, and it was not as difficult for me as it was for them. So for them, it was very shocking because the day that I came in and I met the team, they didn't understand or probably register that she's going to be the one who's going to be leading our team. And they just thought that I've just come in, I'm a Parsi, I'm going to be running the front of the house or the restaurant or the brand, etc. They looked at me in that way. They never saw me as a person in the kitchen itself.
Right.
So the first day that I was in the kitchen, they were actually quite shocked and they were like, why is she in the kitchen? I had to tell them and they just wouldn't accept it because they were just in shock. And they were like, we have never worked with another woman in the kitchen. We're not sure. And they had too many doubts, honestly, about, working with me. And that those doubts led to lots of, I would say, there were some ripples in our relationship, like they wouldn't listen or they wouldn't respond or they would ignore or they would do the opposite. So there were lots of challenges in the beginning because they were honestly not sure how I would lead them as a team. And I gave them that little bit of doubt because even if I was in that position, if there was a 23-year-old who came into the kitchen, I have 10 years of experience, I'd be like, what do you honestly know about
Yeah.
running a kitchen? So, I was pretty much very, very cool, throughout the first couple of months. And that's when we were doing all our R&D.
Mm-hmm.
And when we opened, there were lots of challenges because obviously it was a completely new cuisine, and every dish that was going out to the table, I was tasting every dish. So, there were lots of, corrections which were happening, and that would obviously, when orders are going out, it would get really frustrating for the chef who's, making the orders. So, the first couple of months were I used to go back home almost in tears. I used to be completely broken. I used to be like, and not show them because I didn't want to show them that, I have a weaker side. I wanted to put on a very, very strong front. And eventually, I figured out what was the system that would kind of work with them. So I realized that, other than um, leading them with like giving them directions or ideas or telling them what to do or maybe losing my cool or it could be multiple things in the kitchen. I decided that the best way to teach them and the best way to lead the team would be to work alongside with them. That's what I learned from them. So
Right.
I started coming in with them at the same time when they would do prep. Otherwise, a senior chef always comes in a couple of hours later. So I started coming in like early in the morning. 8 o'clock, the kitchen would open. We would have chai together. We would put on music, and it would usually be Gadwali music. We would chat, we would cut beans, we would clean vegetables, we would do all the prep. I would be stirring a pot while the other guy's cooking. I would be chatting with him. That bond, that conversation, that time that I spent with them in the kitchen, and this is how, my journey started with them. It kind of gave me a very important lesson that if you want to gain, you want them to gain your trust, you have to work alongside them. Because, we come from very different backgrounds, and, I'm not going to blame them that they have certain misconceptions, in their minds because they've been conditioned to see women in a certain way, and we have to change that, and we have to be mindful about the way we change it because you can't expect them to be like, oh, she's come into the kitchen, she's 23, she knows this, she studied from here. We come from very different backgrounds. So what I tried to do was I tried to teach them what I knew
Hmm.
with technique, with ingredients, with hasib, cleaning, the planning of the kitchen, the smooth running of the kitchen. I tried to teach them obviously all the Parsi dishes, but they actually taught me so many little tips and tricks along the way that it became like that was our relationship. There was no hierarchy left, and
Right.
honestly, when that hierarchy broke is when our relationship actually got really good, and the restaurant was, it's almost like a smooth, well-oiled machine. And
Hmm.
in the beginning, there are lots of like issues that happen. And so for me, that was one challenge. But as the restaurant grew, there were multiple times that I would take interviews for people, and we would, obviously send out emails saying, HR, please, we want to hire people. I hardly saw any women coming for any interviews. If they would come for very, very entry level or low level, positions, not with too much experience. So I would take them on an internship role. And I also had I don't know if you know, but at Soda Bottle Opnawala, we had a program where we hired a lot of deaf and hard of hearing people.
Hmm.
So I even had a girl with me for a year who was deaf and hard of hearing, and she was pregnant. So she was working with me in the kitchen, and this was about 3 years into soda being there. So maybe about 7 years ago or 6 years ago. But what I felt as what was a challenge earlier was that when people would come for an interview, they
Hmm.
would always ask me that, where is the head chef? They would think I'm the intermediate, or
Right.
I'm the person in between, or I'm part of the HR.
Hmm.
And I would say that no, I'm the chef. So there were times that there were guys who literally came and they left because they'd never seen that. They have not understood it, because I make it very clear, you're working in my kitchen. There is no abusive language. There is no like, ill treatment, which happens a lot in very, very high male dominated kitchens where the testosterone levels are really high.
Hmm.
My kitchen was calm. Like, it was obviously when the orders were there, it was like crazy. But if I can say in Hindi, calm se calm rakho, which is, whatever you need to do, get your task done,
Right.
finish your work and go home. Like, I'm not going to make you work for 18 hours if it's not required. I'll make you work for 9 hours, and because that's the law and we have to respect it. So everyone was, doing their proper shifts.
Hmm.
It worked like that. And the best part was that there was a very open and easy conversation between me and the team
Right.
that took a year for me to kind of build on. And that, I would say, is the foundation for me in to where I am today, because that was really important. If that wouldn't have happened, there would have always been a clash of egos, honestly. And I think that is the biggest problem with men in the kitchen, that there can be too many egos. And the first thing is that, okay, how is she, as a woman, how is she commanding our kitchen? So
Right.
firstly, you have to break it, like you have to literally chip it little by little to kind of make them understand that. And over the years, being in the industry for almost over 10 years now, I have seen the change right from colleges to restaurants.
Hmm.
Now, when I'm hiring for my kitchen, I have made sure that I need to have a 50% staff, which is women. I mean, I would obviously want to aim for 100% staff, but then I feel like that's also not correct. So
Yeah.
I want to have a balanced number. I want to have enough women. I want to have enough men. I want them to coexist and
Hmm.
learn from each other, because women are really good at some things in the kitchen and men might be really good at some things, and it's all about learning. So I've seen that change happen when I've been hiring right now. I had over 100 CVs, and over 50 of them were women. So I'm seeing that change happen from where I was, and I was one girl applying for a job, to the number increasing at least I mean, not five folds, 50 folds.
Wow. So we can expect like a balance behind the scenes at Glass House.
Absolutely. That's the aim. So yeah. I've
Lovely.
managed to hire two women, so I'm really happy about that.
Lovely. In fact, I think the whole uh, environment of a back end of a kitchen also does reflect in the front end as a customer. I mean, if you come to think of it. So I mean, I've been loyal to Soda Bottle since you guys opened, and I used to be in Delhi back then, like during my undergrads, and then in Bombay, of course. Um, I think we came to associate the brand with you,
Yeah.
and it was I think as customers, who were so regular there, like I remember I stopped going after a point as regularly as I otherwise would, because suddenly, okay, things changed.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, how you've
I
built an
also feel
empire.
like, this is also one of the learnings from, Soda Bottle Opener that expansion very quickly can take a toll on the brand and can take a toll on you as well. Because, you try to do as many things as possible, but you still have only like those 15, 16, 17 hours in a day that you can kind of manage. So,
Right, right.
and that is also a great learning, for me, like from one restaurant to nine restaurants. It was quite mental, if you ask me, but it was challenging in its own way. It taught me, things about the business that I would have never learned, being in a kitchen. So I'm really grateful for that as well.
Right. And I mean, as a young entrepreneur now, do you feel, do you face challenges as a woman? Do you find that investors don't take you as seriously as they would probably take a man?
Yeah. Um, so again, like a couple of sides to this conversation. I feel like right from the very beginning, I've been very vocal, and that's what I've always, whenever I've gone to colleges, etc. Whenever I, give talks to any young chefs or I speak to anyone who's young in the business, I only tell them one thing, and I tell them that, you will face challenges. It's not going to be like, a bed of roses, honestly. You are going to face challenges in your own way. You don't know where, you don't know when.
Hmm.
You just have to be true to yourself. So, for example, when I was just interning at Taj, and I remember one chef came and told me that, I was there and another intern was standing with me, and he was a boy, and he said that, oh, you do this and you go and get the patila from the counter. And I said that, I mean, this is my responsibility from start to finish. I will go and get it. Now the thing is that at that moment it's very important to step in and tell these people, because like I said, they are conditioned, they are old school, they come from a different school of thought. They think you are weak. They think you are weak because of your physical presence, but they don't know that mentally you're really strong and you're here to actually work as hard or maybe harder than your male counterpart.
Hmm.
So, that's what I tell them. I always say that if you find any sort of discrimination happening at that moment, yes, it can be that you're taken aback. And, sometimes you're silent because you don't know how to respond. And not everyone is going to say something.
Right.
But even if you can at that moment or later, stand up for yourself. It could be something like, going into the walk-in refrigerator and chef telling you to get a basket of fruits, and he's like, no, 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 you don't get it, it's too heavy, you can't get it. And I'll be like, no, I will get it. I might get it with a little bit of help from someone, but let me do the
Yeah.
task.
Yeah.
So I think right from the very beginning, I've been very vocal, and I think that's what's really helped me, dealing with um, my male counterparts in the kitchen. And that's why I think they have been very straightforward with me, because I have been very straightforward. And I've never like said that I won't. If I can't do something, I'll tell them I can't do it. If I can do it and they tell me I can't do it, I will want to prove it to them. So there is a little bit, I would say, of this nature of challenge which always comes to me. And I feel like if you give me a challenge, I want to prove it to you. And there will be points where I can't, and maybe it's impossible for me to do it physically, but at least I'll try. So like you said, getting people or entrepreneurs or people to invest in you, invest in your business. I think it's come to a point today where if your work is good, if you're a hardworking person, if they've seen you do that, it really doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, because people are ready to invest in you if they see potential in you. So I don't think we should, try and say that if you're a man or you're going to get better investments, or if you're a woman you're going to get better investments. I've seen women also get really really good
Yeah.
opportunities, and I know that's changing. Obviously it wasn't happening 10 years ago. Definitely it wasn't happening 10 years ago, but now it's changing. And I feel like whatever your potential is, if you're doing the best to your potential, there should be no stopping you from getting the same amount of salary or increments or investments, whatever it is. Nevertheless, just to clarify to you that even now, even after 10 years or 12 years of being in the industry, there are men with the same amount of work experience and the same amount of probably education,
Hmm.
who maybe get a higher salary. They do,
Yeah.
but like I said, that's changing, and that can only change if we step up and we say that we ask for it. Because like I said, that till the time we don't, they're gonna just keep taking advantage of that, and I don't think that's okay. So that has to keep changing.
Right. And on a lighter note, tell us about some of your favorite restaurants, which are led by chef who happen to be women.
Okay, so I have a lot of favorites actually. Obviously, Megha, she's a dear friend. She's with Lavash. She was with Lavash, and then now she's running this restaurant called Cafe Mez.
Yeah.
Radhika from Fig and Maple, she's been leading that, and Ivy and Bean as well before that.
Mhm.
Uh, I see Ruchira, she has her own kitchen. She's, been leading that as well. Vanshika has her own place. Very dear friends. I mean, I know Vanshika since she was 18 and she didn't even know how to hold a knife. So, so very, very close friends. But other than that, there's this amazing restaurant in Saket called Altogether Experiment, which is run by women. The entire team is women. It's run by Chef Anukriti, and she was at the Oberoi's before. Even in my team, I work with two people, and they're both women. So, the way forward is that get more and more women involved, and I hope to see like all every large company to have a woman on top very, very soon.
I really think that even with the home chef revolution, we actually have a lot more, home chefs
I
who are.
think all the home chefs, I mean, I work with people who have so many small businesses all across.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the number of women I see who are, in the business, obviously, home chefs are a totally different league, and the food is incomparable. I mean, I am always there to support that, because see, running a home kitchen is very different from running a
You
restaurant
tried
kitchen.
that as well for some time with your mother, right?
Yes, for 1 year, because with soda, we had to close for a couple of months.
Right.
So I decided to do that on the side and run a kitchen from home, and we did that for almost a year. And then we stopped because restaurants were opening up, and my entire messaging was that go
Yeah.
back to restaurants and
Yeah.
try and support your restaurants, because we've had a really tough 2 years in the business. A lot of my chefs went back home and they never came back because they were like, we'd rather drive taxis in Uttarakhand. So it's
True.
been a hard couple of years. But yes, like I was saying, that I've seen the conversations that I have today.
Hmm.
It could be anyone. It could be a person who's heading a team at an appliance brand, or it could be someone who's talking to me about some social media work, or it could be someone who's in my HR or marketing or any part of my team, or any restaurant team or any other brand. I am talking to more women than I am talking to men, and I mean, even though I'm not recording that in any way, but I am seeing that now that I'm talking to you, that everyone that I've spoken to, all my meetings that have happened since the morning, which are 4 meetings, they've all been with women, and I mean, that's the way it's going to happen, and that's the change that we want to see, and we want to be a part of that.
Absolutely. I mean, here's to breaking more glass ceilings. So,
Yeah, I think we're there. So
lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Anahita. This has been
no problem.
great. And I'm so glad that, we could fit in a video interview as there as
Yes.
well.